Hello guys. I asked a question on the Facebook page what you guys would like to see more of, and one of the requests I received was how to relieve SI joint pain. And first of all, I want to tell you that I am not a doctor or a physician, and probably neither are you. So if you have real problems, visit a physician which is specialized in your type of problem. So with that said, there are some things we can experiment with if we have the right attitude, which you might try when you watch this video. So first of all, let's have a look at what not to do when you have SI joint pain. If you don't know what that is, I'm gonna post a couple of articles, one video and one article, which is really informative about SI joint pain. But SI joint pain is of course deep in the hips, and two things that you don't want to do is keep your legs wide and fold forward. So if you feel the SI joint pain and you know it is SI joint pain you have, you do not want to do this, folding forward when you have your legs wide, because this will aggravate and make your pain worse. Same thing with this one leg in, reaching forward and pulling yourself forward and down. This is terrible and will probably make your pain much more intense. So please don't do this when you have SI joint pain. There are a couple of things that we can do that might help, but again, it is important that you have the right approach and patience and the right attitude. So if you feel pain, don't do it. I've had an injury for many years, and I think that I tried to trigger the pain all the time actually made it much worse. So if you stay away and stay pain-free, then you know you're on the right track to recover. So if you feel the pain on one side, don't do that side, just do the other one until you know what you're doing. So this you can do. Sit down on your knees, flatten out your feet, start slowly leaning back with an active core, because you don't want to pinch the lower back just to get effect in the hips. So lean back, stay on your fingertips, activate your core, which means sucking the belly button in and up to make your spine supported, and then lean back. Personally, I like when I sit here, I like to squeeze my elbows in to get a stretch in the front of the shoulders, but this is just a personal preference. But for your SI joint, this can be a nice way to tilt the pelvis back, because the SI joint is a really there is not much move. The SI joint is not very movable at all, especially not in guys. There are tight ligaments which are keeping your pelvis and your spine supported on top of your legs, so the tissue that is connecting the SI joint is really stiff. But if it gets dislocated, it can cause a lot of pain and a lot of unevenness in the hips. So just leaning back here gives the hips a chance to sink back into its place. So it might work, it might not work, but if you have the right approach and some patience here, it might feel really good. So try that one. Another thing you can try is this exercise. So lay down on your back, activate the legs and pull one knee close to your chest. Interlace the fingers and now pull your shin bone down and push your shin bone back up into your hands. Stay here for a couple of seconds and then lengthen the arms and make the knee pull yourself up from the floor, lifting the chest and pushing the knee forward. Now change legs, so interlace your fingers around the other knee with straighter and straighter arms, lower down, with your lower back to the floor, pulling your knee close to your chest, pushing the knee back into your hands, and again pushing up, lifting yourself up off the floor, lifting your chest, switching legs again. So up and down like this, as slow as you can possibly go, because it is in the transition that you will feel what's happening in the hip. Pulling the knee closer to you, pushing the knee back, lifting yourself up from the floor, and switching again. Do at least 10 on each side. Slow, slow, slow. So stay there for a few minutes and just go up and down to see what's happening. This is also a nice way to adjust your SI joint a little bit. I'm going to give you one last pose, which is a good hip strengthener. So if you have severe pain, this might feel really bad for you, so don't do it. But if your hips are a bit uneven, the Warrior 3 pose can be a very nice hip strengthener if you do it correctly. So stand up, hands in front of chest, slowly lean forward and lift one heel out behind you. So what I usually see here is that either the hips open up a lot when we're high, or when we come down deeper, the hips close off too much. So what we're looking for is the golden middle, where the hip bones are neutral to the floor. So don't open too much and don't close it off too much. So try to go for length through the leg and the top of your head, while at the same time keeping your hips parallel to the floor. It can help to keep a little bend in the knee you're standing on, and stabilizing your hips here. You can put your hands on your lower back to feel that both of your lower back muscles here work equally much, so you're not leaning too far to the left or to the right. This is really intense. So just come back and do the other side when you're ready. Lifting one heel out behind you, keeping your hips parallel to the floor, stretching out through the back leg, out through the top of your head. So don't dump the weight into your hips, but try to make an evenness both in the foot you're standing on and through your hips. And you help and you assist yourself by lengthening your back leg and your spine, and keeping a light bend in the knee you're standing on. So these 3 poses that we did might help, it might not. So again, I find it's realistic that you have SI joint pain, because it's not super normal, but we're not super normal that are doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu either, because we want movable hips, so we move the hips all the time in BJJ, and usually we have another person's weight pressing down on our hips. They try to control our hips by putting pressure on it while we try to move it. So it's not unrealistic to assume that we run a bigger risk of injuring and dislocating our SI joint in BJJ, so we need to do something about it. But all of the things we're doing on this site that you're watching right now is to open up the hips but also strengthen it. So if you do the videos and do them with the right attitude, which means doing them slowly and consistently, you prevent many of the common injuries in BJJ. But if you have severe SI joint pain, if you just have a lot of pain in your hips and in your lower back, it would be a nice idea to consult a specialized physician, because sometimes they actually really know what they're talking about. You might have to visit a few of them, but when you find someone that you trust, do what they tell you, and you might be injury free before you know it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video, or see you on the mat.